budget version of Monarchs. Because as you know, you can just buy 3 structure decks and basically get everything you need. So first off, we have a playset of Edea. Now with Edea, when you normal summon her, or special summon her for that matter, you can pull her out, and then you can bring in another Monarch card, which most people do this. Eidos, they bring in an Eidos, so I have a playset of Eidos. So with Eidos, so this card lets you special summon this card here. It's in defense position usually. And then this card here, Eidos, allows you to tribute summon afterwards. So there's your two fodder for your tribute. Moving along, we have a rock vassal, landrobe. Now this is another really cool one. So like, let's say it's in your hand, and you want to special summon it. You can special summon it from your hand, and then flip summon or flip over an attack position monster your opponent controls, which is pretty neat. Moving right along, we have Mithra, the thunder vassal. This one's pretty neat. You can also special summon it, but unfortunately you give your opponent a token, which, I mean, trade-off is alright. I think it's neat. Moving along, we have a Majesty's Fiend. You can pick these up for a few dollars or a little trade, but it's really sweet because this doesn't allow your opponent to have any card effects go off, which is quite nice. Moving along, we have 2 caius. You can pick these up real cheap. You can special summon, or when they're special normal summoned, they blow up. You can blow up target 1 or 2 of your opponent's monsters, and they draw 2 cards. Or what's really neat is you can summon that, target something you control. So like, let's say the Prime Monarch, and you can target and then you can target caius itself. So you blow up caius and a Prime Monarch. They go to your grave, and then you get to draw 2, which is really, really, really powerful. Drawing 2 cards. Next up, we have Mobius. Mobius, most people don't run, but this is a budget deck. It allows you to get rid of 2 spells on your opponent's side of the field, which is really quite nice. Another thing, it pops scales. So let's say you have a pendulum monster that you want to get rid of, pop that, and it works real nice. Moving along, we have Caius, the Shadow Monarch. You summon that bad boy, you get to banish 1 monster your opponent controls, or actually to banish any card, which that's pretty sweet. Now the staple of the deck is Thessatelos. With Thessatelos is your main guy. With Thessatelos, you can when you tribute for him, you can look at your opponent's hand and then choose to destroy a card from their hand. So, and then if you choose a monster, you do 200 times whatever level their monster is. So let's say you choose a level 4 monster, it does 800 points of damage to them, which is really nice. And then it's a 2800 beater after that. So that's a good card right there. And then after that, we get into some of the really cool cards here. Ehther, we have a playset of Ehther. Now with this card, if you tribute summon it, its effect, you send 2 Monarch spell or trap cards to the grave, and then you can special summon a 2400 or higher monster from from your deck to the field. So let's get something out here. So let's say you tribute and you activate its effect, and then you can pull out a caius. Now caius effect is when it's special summoned or normal summoned. So then you pull this guy out, and then you can blow up 2 of their cards, and then you get a direct attack, hopefully with this guy right here, Ehther. And so this is a really good play right here, and I recommend you picking up at least 1 of these for that play that I just described. And then after Ehther, we have Erebus, the Underworld Monarch. I run 2 of these because I feel like 3 is just a little overkill. So when you tribute summon, let's say I tribute summon, I can now pull a card, or I can randomly choose a card from your opponent's hand and shovel it back into the deck. And of course, you have to send 2 Monarch cards from your deck, or from your deck to the grave. But then, let's say it is in the grave. So pretend this is in the grave. You can send with Erebus. You can send a Monarch card, spell or trap, from your hand to the grave to activate a second effect, which allows you to either take him or any other 2400 or higher attack monster from the grave and add it to your hand. So it's a little recyclability right there. And then next we'll get into the spells. I run 2 domains. Now domains are what lock your opponents down. Now you have this a field spell, so you have this on the field. Now let's say you have your tribute summon monster. Let's say you have an erebus on the field. Your opponent cannot use the extra deck. Can't special summon from the extra deck. So it locks down a ton of different decks, which is really great. It slows the decks down, because this Monarch's deck's pretty slow, and this helps you out there. Another thing it does, it gives you an 800 attack advantage, so it brings Erebus up to 3600 attack during the damage calculation, but only on your turn. But still, that's extra damage, which is quite nice, because he's already a 2800 guy. 36 is even better. Now next we have a playset of Pantheism. With Pantheism, you can activate it and send one card, a Monarch or spell or trap, to the grave, and then draw 2 cards from your deck, which is really fantastic. Now let's say this is in your graveyard now. You can then banish it and make your opponent choose one of 3 cards. So let's say you any Monarch card. So it can be like a domain, it can be another Pantheism, and it can be another domain. It can be any variety of any Monarch cards, but it has to be spell or trap. So this card right here is the engine of the deck. It is fantastic. Its draw power is really quite phenomenal. Next we move on to tenacity. We run 3 tenacity, because tenacity, you reveal a 2400 or higher attack position monster from your hand to your opponent. So when you reveal that, then you can automatically search for a Monarch card, spell or trap, of course. So you run 3 of these because its utility is really great. Next, we run 2 stormforth. Stormforths allow you to tribute summon your monster's card. So let's say they have like a Dante out there. You throw this out there, you contribute their Dante. Next we have a Return of the Monarch. This card, when you tribute summon a monster, you can then search for another tribute summon monster. So let's say we bring out an erebus. We then can activate this ability, and we can pull an ehther, to our hand. So it just gives a little more consistency. Next we have March of the Monarchs. March of the Monarchs prevents your opponent from targeting or destroying your monsters through card effects. So we run one of those because it's just a little more flair. After that we run 2 MSTs. MSTs are always fantastic, and you can always find use for them. After the MSTs we have a 1-for-1. Now a really great combo for 1-for-1 is, let's say you have a large monster. Let's say you have an ehther in your hand. You can then use it. You can use 1-for-1. Send this to your grave. Special summon an edea, and then edea effects pops, which allows you to bring out another Monarch card of 800 attack or less. So usually I go into an eidos. So that's a really good combo right there. After that we have a Foolish Burial. So with Foolish Burial, I always like to send an erebus to the graveyard because that allows me to recycle my monsters. After that we have 1 Rota. Rota allows us to search for an edea, because edea is fantastic and another card, or another staple of our deck. And finally we have 2 Prime Monarchs. Prime Monarchs are really fantastic. They have 2 types. Let's say it's a face down, a trap. You can spring it, and it allows you to recycle spells and traps back into your deck. So for example, let's say we have a Stormforth. We have 2 Stormforths in our graveyard. We can activate the Prime Monarch, send these 2 cards back into our deck, and then draw 1 afterwards. And then, but then let's say this is in our graveyard. So it's in our graveyard with a Monarch card. We can banish that Monarch card and then bring this out in defense position as a monster, a level 5 monster, every turn. So on your opponent's turn or my turn, it's really great for tributing or stopping damage from getting through to your life points. And then our last card we have is a Vanity's Emptiness. Shuts down summoning or special summoning for you and your opponent, but you don't really special summon all that much. So it's really great to slow decks down. And that is the Monarch's budget build.